BIDI. Arequipa, Peru. February 24, 2020. Well, BIDI is with you, and salutes you. Sister. Good evening, BIDI. I am delighted to meet you again and to exchange with you, in these special times of dream and illusion. I come especially to listen to what you have to ask me. I will come back on another occasion in a few days, for another reason. On this day, therefore, I am listening to what you have to submit to me in order, as usual, to exchange, to share. So I listen to you. Silence. Sister, there are no more questions. There's nothing to see. Brother, even though there is nothing to see, silence is also exchanged. Silence. Is this the definitive end of all questioning, of all interrogation? Brother, I am passing on a question that comes from a young man who was born in India, and who lives in France, and who apparently suffers from a hold of transgenerational black magic, and he is not yet, he is still well in his person, but he has asked this question. What can we tell him? Wake up! It is simply, and I remind each of you, that everything that happens in front of you, whether pleasant or unpleasant, ultimately comes only from your own creation. What you call black magic is only the reflection of an adherence, of a disturbance to an inherent duality, not to the one who would do what you call black magic, but simply to the one whose position of consciousness is inscribed within the duality of the person. But it is also a way of awakening, a way out of the nightmare, out of the reaction, and ultimately in this period, out of the dream. Understand well that from the moment you implement, whether in your perception or in your action, a ritual to counter, to oppose, to solve, to heal, you're only reinscribing yourself in even more duality and even more suffering, until the moment when there will be a form of unconditional surrender to what is. This has been called by BIDI the acceptance of what is. You cannot change this. What is important is not the script of the theater scene, which is unchanging, which has always been written and which you just follow, but rather the way you play and interpret that theater scene. The positioning of the one who embraces, no matter how harsh, no matter how burdensome, no matter how right of ways and fundamentally honest with himself to embrace and cross over, will see any hold and any duality instantly dissolve. What you oppose can only become stronger. Acceptance is, above all, a non-reaction, an integration and an understanding that there is only you, prior to grasping and living that there has never been anyone. Do not forget that we have all been conditioned, by successive incarnations of our person within the dream of illusion, having adhered in every possible way to the rules of illusion, to its duality, to its religions, to its confrontations, to all its problems of whatever nature that affect you. The present times give you the opportunity to instantly realize this reversal, in order to live and understand that, in the end, everything comes from you since there is no one. I cannot therefore respond with techniques or rituals that will in any case belong to duality and that will only lead to suffering upon suffering, until the intensity of this suffering will itself trigger the resilience and the repair of the illusion, which does not need to be repaired, but simply to be seen and accepted. Of course, within the theater scene, some play that bad guys, some play that good guys, but it is always just you. Until you see that, you are not free. You chase the dream, you feed it, you nurture it, and you sway. There can be no permanence and no impermanence in this kind of behavior. I repeat, what is on the theater scene has always been written. Accepting it is already seeing it for what it is, and no longer being subjected to it. It is much more a matter of phenomena of habits of incarnation, of habitual positioning of the consciousness that has not seen its own source, its own antagonism, and its own duality. Now it is up to you to address yourself to duality, to ritual, which will certainly be effective, if it is to be effective, but will in no way solve the equation of what is the truth of the joy that you are. Remember also that each one of you, and also each one of us, wherever we are at this moment experiencing the lifting of the final veils, now the dream at the dream. Remember that there is nothing to be done. There is just to nod, to let it be what it is, to accept that all this is just a vast fraud, to look inside in silence, and it is over. There is no need for time, there is no need for ritual, there is no need for exercise, but for a form of inner evolution in the way of living what is to be lived, happy or unhappy, through acceptance, through crossing over, and not through reaction. Anything you oppose will become stronger. Keep the duality, the action-reaction, for the things inherent in dreams and in everyday life. For those kinds of things, which have nothing to do with the organization of life within the dream, but more, I would say, distortions due to the dream, either there is suffering or there is agape. And you have no other alternative. This has been repeated to you by countless voices for a long time now. Remember that it is the way you play that game of the stage that changes everything, and shows you who you are. But as long as you participate in the game, according to the laws of habit of action and reaction, of consciousness itself, of the mind itself, there is no room for solution that can appear at first. But resistance and suffering itself will necessarily transform itself at another time, within the dream, into resilience and resolution. It is also an invitation to ask yourself the question, in a very general way in your life, in your daily life, in the very functioning of your body, in the interhuman relations whatever they may be, to see if there is ease and fluidity or if there is difficulty. Difficulty is simply an indication to turn even more towards yourself, to welcome, to accept, to cross over, without asking yourself questions. Of course, it has to do with right of ways, what you call black magic, but it also has to do with relational problems, problems of the body, problems of society and of everything that is happening on the theater stage of this world. The time has come to be fully lucid. You realize that you can no longer cheat on any level whatsoever, because as soon as there is cheating, there is suffering. It is an invitation by the intelligence of light, in sometimes insignificant and sometimes dramatic details and facts, to find yourself again. Do not judge yourself, do not judge anyone, do not judge any circumstance, accept it, see it, go through it and let the intelligence of light that you are work, and not your human intelligence, whatever its capacities, will never come to the end of the dream. Now as you know, as you may perceive, the period you are living within the dream is the resolution of the dream. The result is the same for all of creation, but the way to get there, if I may say so, in what is to be gone through is profoundly different. Within the dream, do you want to be light and flowing or do you want to be suffering? We have explained this to you enough. Be honest, be frank, be lucid, freedom is at that price. Silence. That's the only answer I can give you. Everything that happens to your consciousness, to your body, to your life, is only the result of your positioning, your adhesions, your beliefs, far beyond all your perceptions whatever they may be. Silence, tranquility, laziness, are essential. This is how you discover what has always been there and that you had, as it was said, forgotten, put aside, or for other reasons besides. But don't judge yourself either. Be gentle with yourselves, be true. This is a form of trust, not belief or faith, but trust in what is perhaps still unknown to you, in what you're in truth, which as we keep telling you, you were never born, you never died, it concerns the person. You are not that person, even if you are fully identified with it. You are not from any world. What game do you want to play in this final scene? The game of freedom, joy and beauty, or the game of suffering? It's up to you. And everything that happens, at whatever level, in human relations, in relations in society, in your relations to the economy, to the affective, to the positioning, even of your consciousness, is destined only to make you experience this. Do not refuse anything. A few years ago the commander used to say put love in front, put love everywhere. I say to you put acceptance everywhere, and love is just behind, the one way you recognize yourself, which has no possible relationship with human love, filial love, sentimental love, or any love whatsoever. Freedom is there. And it is better to be free through beauty than to be free through suffering, even if the result is exactly the same. But what is to be crossed within the dream is the opposite. I also remind you that from your lightness, from your acceptance, you amplify the good news, you amplify its diffusion, you amplify its very manifestation within the dream. Silence. Any other questions? Silence. Sister, could you BIDI tell us about this black hole that should absorb us? There is only one black hole, it is the one in the heart of the heart. What is happening within the event is exactly what is happening in you. So I suggest that you go to the simplest thing, not to be interested in what happens outside because it happens the same way inside. You are the black hole, which puts an end to the dream, to the nightmare of consciousness, to the nightmare of suffering, and to the myth of creation. That is how you are free, that is how joy is there, and not otherwise. Go towards this simplicity. We could talk about a set of things that are happening at the moment on the theater stage, but that is absolutely useless since all these external events, of whatever nature, collective or personal, are ultimately only intended to make you enter into them, where the truth is. Talking about the black hole, talking about viruses, is a waste of time. Leave that to those who are interested in it out of pure intellectual curiosity, but no solution will come out of it through questioning, but also through acceptance. We have repeated to you iteratively and intensely that there is nothing but acceptance. Understanding is not living. On the contrary, living acceptance creates and is understanding. Don't practice backwards, don't act backwards. That's why I said in front of what may question you, be silent. Accept, go through, without guilt, without accusation, without judgment, the other of you or the situation, and you will be free instantly. Do not believe me there either, live it. The only obstacle is you, your thoughts, your habits, your usual mechanisms of functioning. This has been explained in an extremely important way, I'm not going to go over it again. Anything that will hit you, smash you, or fill you up, makes no difference. The result will be the same. Discovering you, remembering that you're anterior to all this, allowing you, as I was saying, to play what is written with more lightness, more smile whatever happens. That's freedom, nothing else. And so is truth. The truth depends on the point of view, of course, but the point of view of the Absolute is the only truth. But you cannot accept it, you cannot understand it, you can only live it today. You are moving away from it or you are getting closer to it. There is joy without object, or there is suffering, with object or without object. The measure of truth is simply the ability to be in acceptance and joy whatever happens. And don't tell me that you are not joyful, because so much suffering happens to you, because that is precisely what will allow you to wake up, as soon as you have accepted it. But not before. So the black hole, it is in the heart of your heart, it is the Absolute, the Brahman, what the ego calls nothingness, what spiritual pride calls the devil, is nothing but the truth. There is neither God nor devil. You hold all the roles, you're all the actors and all the spectators of all the theater scenes of all dreams. Accept it and you will experience the immediate effect. It is a positioning, emotional, mental, and of the conscience, which accepts what it is false, that it is only passing and does not concern you in what you are, that you remember. Stop looking, stop understanding, live this, and understanding will be natural. The intellectual curiosity of the black holes actually corresponds to what is observable within the manifestation, which has been called the absorption of the dream of creation. Another question. Sister, what will the world be like when we are liberated? The world will no longer have a reason to exist, the world is part of the dream. But until you live it, you cannot believe it, you cannot accept it. Accept your life, accept the moment without understanding and you will live it. Asking yourself the question of the world is also about the intellect, and certainly not about who you are. You only have to look at your newspapers, look at the flowers, look at the earth, look at society, to realize this. To ask the question of what the world will be is already no longer being in the present moment, it is already moving away from the truth. Be free and then, indeed, you can manifest all the intellectual curiosities you want. But these kinds of questions about what the world will be like cannot exist for the one who is free because there has never been a world. It's just a dream. It's not an metaphor, it's not an idea, it's the only absolute truth. The world is you, in the dream. When you sleep, as I explained in 2012, the Turiya consciousness is there, you have no memory of it. That is the truth. Today you remember it. You have countless testimonies, even spontaneous ones, of brothers and sisters who live the ineffable truth. Ebba had spoken of sacrifice, the sacrifice of illusion, the sacrifice of what passes. You are not the conscience, you are not even that which perceives. You are nothing of what you see, and yet this is where it happens. This is the difference between the liberated one who lives agape, with his daily problems, his daily joys and sorrows, and the one who does not live it, but who rightly wonders about his position in this world. Reverse things. The world is within you, really and concretely. Everyone, the enemy as well as the friend, the saints as well as the demons. It is only you. It's not a metaphor again. It's just you, that's the only truth. You're in a collective dream, a collective nightmare, where everything is interdependent, because it is the same dream. You're all actors on the theater stage. Everything has been written. Ebba has shown it to you, over the last 2 years, in countless ways. You don't need that anymore, you just need to be present, at the moment, at time zero, and it reveals itself to you. Put behind you the questions, the suffering, the resolutions. What is your priority, and why and for whom or for what are you available? For the satisfaction of a lack or for the discovery of fullness? It is up to you to decide, at this moment. Asking the question of tomorrow, for something other than what you have to undertake within the dream, simply shows that you are still sleeping somewhere. Save your concerns for the dream scene, but not for who you are. Unless you are only concerned about tomorrow rather than yourself. Know yourself, not as a person even if it is useful in some cases, but as a truth, an ineffable beauty, permanent, never born and never dead. This will profoundly change the way that dream is played out to the end. You cannot make mistakes, you cannot delude yourself, you cannot make fail. The mistake is to persist, in these visions of the future, in this apprehension of the future, also talking about your past, your memories, rather than being in the present, in the reception of what is. But the life and the intelligence of the light will contribute and are already contributing to show you that. From the moment the ultimate veil, if I may express myself in this way, is lifted, you'll see, whether or not you feel the energies, the vibrations, a freedom like no other. It is real. When brothers and sisters tell you that they remember who they are no longer fooled by the dream, they do not run away from the dream, they do not run away from responsibilities, quite the contrary, but they are lucid. You have nothing else to do but to see and experience that this is a theater scene, a film that has been written and that you are playing, and you cannot not play it. But the way you play it changes everything. Everything else is superfluous, everything else is weight. It's no longer time to lean on any crutches. Guru, masters, beings of light, Christ, Buddha, even if they're there, they are you. Do not put distance, do not put time, do not put space, and you will see, you will live it. The fear of the unknown no longer holds, since the unknown is known by countless people today. They all tell you the same thing, and, above all, they see that whatever the circumstances of their own lives, in their written script, it happens with much more ease, much more easily, whatever the ordeals, the pains or the problems. A living liberated person is not exempt from his humanity, is not exempt from pain, he lives. But he no longer plays the illusion, he plays the truth within the illusion. You cannot change anything. It is the person who wants to change anything, to obey a lack, an impulse, a void, a need to acquire. Freedom is playing with all this. Silence. Another question. Brother, how can I identify when I go from the heart to the intellect? It's very simple. As soon as you question, you are no longer in the heart. As soon as you judge, you are no longer in the heart. But beware, many brothers and sisters today tell you that they are in the heart, but they are prisoners of their history. The one who is in the heart cannot be a prisoner of any story, neither with a husband, nor with a wife, nor with a mother, nor with a child, nor with a brother, nor with a sister, nor with anyone. The difference is quite simple. And those who live it, even if they use their intellect, are never fooled again. The simple fact of asking this question shows that obviously you are not living agape. To be in the heart is not agape. Agape is a state beyond any state, as it has been called heart of heart, the ultimate presence, the infinite presence, the absolute, Shanti Nilaya. Do you think that the brothers and sisters who live agape, like the stars, whether they were Gemagalgani, or Mahanand or others who have delivered so many teachings to you, all these brothers and sisters who are free, it would never occur to them to ask themselves the question of when they are in the heart or the intellect? They are always in the heart. But do not confuse being in the heart with being in the truth. Being in the heart is an attitude, a behavior, but it is natural or not. If it is spontaneous and natural, it is agape. If it seems to oscillate between being in the heart and being in the intellect, in the end you're always in the intellect, whatever you say and whatever you do. Once again, from the moment you remember, you have a smile, inside and out. You can no longer lose yourself, even if you use your intellect, even if you use your mind. You can no longer be fooled, you can no longer ask yourself if you're in the ego, the mind or the heart, since you are life. You're all of that. But you are no longer fools. It is frightfully simple, as Ebba says, over and over again. Realize that all these are only postures. Am I in the heart, am I in the intellect? Who says that? The person. I don't make value judgments. The one who is agape does not judge, he feels, even without feeling the energies, that he is in that indescribable love that no human love can touch, cannot come close to that, whether it is a perfect sexual act, a romantic love, a perfect relational love, has nothing to do with agape. In agape you're alone. That was explained by Ebba. You have gone from agape to agape resonance to agape interdimensional space resonance, where there is no one. Everything else is just wind. Don't look for it. Let be what is already there, what has always been there. It's not a play on words, it's the strict truth, but you can't believe it. You can't understand it. Understand the meaning of the words. You can only accept it, which will create the crossing of illusion and make you remember who you were before the form, before the existence of time and space, before the existence of the planets, of the suns. As I was saying when I was incarnated, the only difference between you and me is that I know that I am God and you do not know it yet. But you're also that devil, and all this is laughable because it does not exist. Whoever realizes this does not need to create movements, religions or teachings. Freedom cannot be accompanied by any kind of structure, especially spiritual or religious or other. Freedom is never a compromise. Never. It is or it is not. Whatever your commitments, whatever your responsibilities, whatever the state of your body or your wallet, it is the same thing. Everything that happens in your life, in your body, in society, in your relationships, in your emotional friendships, is only meant to show you that. I'm not asking you to believe me, as I say in every speech. I ask you to accept it, to live it and to verify it for yourselves. It is accessible to everyone, regardless of your age. You do not need to oppose anything, you do not need to discuss the truthfulness of anything, you do not need to question yourself, you do not need to feel, you do not need to perceive, even if you perceive the entities, the energies, the vibrations. You need to be there, available, welcoming, and the truth is there for everyone. But if you are not able to stop the inherent logic of the person, even for a moment, and it does not depend on the vibratory process, or even on any meditation, or even on any prayer, but on a form of release, of sacrifice and of acceptance. Nothing else. Everything else burdens you. Silence. The earth is beginning to move. Silence. Another question. Sister, why is there so much resistance to entering this state? The only obstacle is you. As long as you believe you're a person, as long as you believe you're a history, as long as you believe you come from a past, as long as you believe you depend on a future or any circumstance, you remain a person. Just be present, just be in acceptance, without asking for anything and especially without expecting anything, and you live it. The problem is that often, at first, when you hear testimonies of brothers and sisters who are living this indescribable state beyond any state, it can lead to an increase in the projection of consciousness, a need to grasp, a need to seek. The obstacle is there, not elsewhere. It is not in your absence of perception or anteriorities, it is simply related, as has been explained, to habits. But we believe that what the brothers and sisters testify, I wouldn't say it's difficult, it's getting easier and easier. So I understand that my words may be guilt-written for those who don't live it, but that guilt leads to a frictional fire. The fire of ego is part of the game as well and takes you to the same resilience, to the same truth. There is no why, if you heard what I said. All you have to do is to accept, to embrace, without questioning, without judgment, without discrimination and without perception what is, to be free. If this does not happen, it is because your present instant is polluted by the weight of history, by the weight of suffering, by the weight of your fears. Besides, I will give you only one example. Those who tell you I am in the heart are filled with fear. Does the one who is Agape need to tell you, I am in the heart or I am in the intellect? No, it is natural. These are strategies of defense of the ego, these are strategies of adherence to the story that you do not want to see stopped, because they're afraid of the unknown. That's just it. Silence. One more question, or perhaps for a change, the testimonies of those who live it. Silence. Brother, there is widespread silence. So we will continue together in silence. This will be BIDI's way of greeting you. Do not meditate. Just be, as I said during this intervention, available in the moment, there, right now. Without waiting for anything. Silence. Well, BIDI will thank you for listening, for your embrace, and I say Agape. Sisters and brothers, Agape, Agape, Agape. May peace and love be your permanent abode, whatever you have to live on the stage of this world. You are none of these things. BIDI says hello. Sisters and brothers, goodbye BIDI, and thank you. See you soon. Through Jean-Luc Young. Les Transformations. English Revised Translation. LMF.